What's good? Miss D here, checking in for the Teen Scene 10, featured on the Terri Graham radio show. And we are continuing our series on bullying. I'm here with a very special guest, Tiffany Carlisle, the founder of Tell On It Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yes.
Facebook, and she does her posts on Facebook. And
Yes.
it's really dynamic and empowering, and I think that you all are going to enjoy this talk. It's going to be real, it's going to be raw, but it's going to impact. It's going to be freeing, liberating. We've talked about various types of bullying and abuse so far on Teen Scene 10, and today we're going to switch it up a little bit, and we're going to discuss the emotional effects of bullying and how to cope with them. And our special guest Tiffany is going to give us her testimony and just tell us how Tell On It Tuesdays and Thursdays came about and just the whole process. So welcome, Tiffany, to the Teen Scene 10.
Thank you, Terri.
Thank you for coming. I am excited that you're here with us today. And I know we had a really great conversation earlier today.
Right.
And I just really, I'm just going to really, like I said, I'm going to let you talk because you have some really empowering information. And I think that it's really important that everybody know, even while we were talking on the phone, you know, there were several things that you were saying that I related to. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. You know, it's empowering to know that, you know, even though our situations are not the exact same, there's still some similarity, and you can relate, and you don't feel so by yourself.
Right.
When you're going through things.
Absolutely.
So let's get right into it. Can you please share with our listeners how Tell On It Tuesdays and Thursdays came about?
So Tell On It Tuesdays and Thursdays, I actually was a part of Miss Evangelist Terri Wooten-Graham's women's conference a few years ago.
Okay.
And she had asked me to speak, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to speak about, but I'm sure it'll come to me. So I had an experience maybe a week or two before the conference where I was abused by my children's father.
Okay.
So he attacked me and put his hands on me and in front of the children, and he had also hit them as well. And so I had a class that I was teaching, and one of the young ladies was in the class, and she stood up and told her story. She said, I just had to tell on it. And I didn't understand why the words tell on it resonated with me so much until after I had the experience.
Okay.
So when I got to the conference, I was like, what other topic to use than tell on it? So I was able to talk about the experience I just had. And I shared with everyone at that point, like, you know, we have to free ourselves. And the only way to do that, or to start to do that, is by telling on it. So whatever your it is, if your it is molestation, if your it was rape, if your it was abuse, if your it was low self-esteem, whatever that thing was that holds you bondage or captive, you got to tell on it in order to free yourself. So that's where it came from.
That's powerful. That's very powerful. Okay. And so with your Tell On It Tuesdays, is it something that you only do on Facebook? Are you working on a book, a blog, or anything like that?
So as of right now, it is only something that I do on Facebook.
Okay.
And I've taken a break from social media, which Facebook was my only social media, but I'd taken a break just to deal with myself.
Okay.
And so when I came back, I was like, you know, I could put a lot of useless content on here, or I can help some other people find their way.
Mm.
And when I came back, there was quite a few things that I had on my own personal plate that I'd been dealing with. The main thing was depression.
Okay.
And so that was the first thing I told on.
Mm. Okay.
That was the first thing I told on, because most people feel like when you're depressed that you're weak.
Right.
and you just want someone to feel sorry for you. And the reality is, depression comes from different things, and it comes in different forms.
Right.
And so I wanted other people to know that the more you keep it a secret, the more it eats away at you.
Absolutely.
So I exposed it, and I told on it. And so to see the other people posting behind it or inboxing me in reference to it, let me know that this is something you need to continue doing. Other people need someone to reach for them, and not everybody understands them. And so they isolate themselves and try to deal with themselves, but that's not something you fight alone.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And you said something really powerful in our conversation earlier this afternoon, that we are not built to deal with these types of situations by ourselves. So,
right.
I think, it's very freeing or liberating to know that, in this big old world, that you're not really going through this by yourself, or you're not the only one.
Right.
I think when there's power in numbers, I guess.
Yeah.
That cliche comes from,
And it's truly like having support.
Yeah. It's a support
even
system.
if someone doesn't understand what you're dealing with or haven't been through what you're going through, to know that someone's willing to give an ear, that they're willing to give you a hug if you need it. Mm-hmm. They'll let you cry if you need to cry, just to be yourself and let go. We need that space, and we don't have a lot of safe spaces where we can do those things.
Very true.
And we are not built to deal with these things alone. It's trauma.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's trauma. So you think about somebody going into the emergency room. If they're going in there and there's a trauma situation, they may have been shot or something, that doctor's not in there by themselves. The doctor has a team.
Absolutely.
And in order for that person to get better, that doctor needs to be there, that nurse needs to be there, the person handing over the tools, that doctor has a crew of folk to help that person get better. Mm-hmm. So just like that doctor has a crew of folk for that traumatic situation,
absolutely,
when we're dealing with mental trauma, physical trauma, we need a crew of folk. And they'll all have different parts in our healing process.
Right. Yeah, that's another scenario where it truly takes a village. It's not just, it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to really cope with things.
Right.
With any kind of trauma, be it physical. And especially with bullying, people don't realize the aftermath. They don't realize the aftermath of being bullied. They think, oh, well, we've separated you from the bully,
and that's it.
Yeah, and it's like, or we stopped them from bothering you. Okay, we did all that. What's the problem?
The mental effects.
Right.
Nobody deals with the mental.
Right.
We deal with the right here and right now. Oh, we found a solution. We got them out of your space. So you should be able to move forward.
Right, get over it.
But when you're not taught how to cope with the trauma that bully has caused,
right,
no one teaches us how to move forward.
Right.
And in our community, not all of us are always have access to a therapist or a psychologist.
Right.
And many people feel like, oh, if you go see one of them, you're crazy.
Right. There's a huge stigma in the African American community about seeking any kind of
mental health, that you're crazy.
Therapy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And what I had to learn was, you're not crazy.
Right.
Going to see a therapist or a psychologist prevents you from becoming crazy. Absolutely. Because you're getting to tell on those things that damaged you.
Right.
So as you're going through those sessions, that's your release.
Absolutely.
That's your healing. That's your freedom.
Absolutely.
And then they give you coping mechanisms to make it through in the event that you have a moment. Absolutely. What do you do the next time you have a flashback? Mm-hmm. So when I didn't have therapy, I had to teach myself how to get through those flashback moments.
Okay.
There was a point in my life where I would stay in a moment. And those moments became days. And those days would become years. Weeks, years, and years. Mm-hmm. And depression lingered.
Right.
So eventually when I had to start my healing process, I learned, okay, it's okay for me to cry. Mm-hmm. It's okay for me to be angry. But once I release those emotions, keep going.
Right.
Keep going. So to tell people get over it, that's a hard statement to make.
It is.
Because you don't forget. But if you tell them, go through it.
Absolutely.
Go through those emotions, they're a lot more at ease.
I pray that this segment has been enlightening for you, and I thank you for your time. And Miss D is signing off for the Teen Scene 10 on the T-Dionne Radio Show.